Randolph Gershwin, what are you looking at? It's Comics and Chats, a completely improvised, semi-committing musing from Howard Stern's Mick the Nerd, aka YouTube's Mick the Man. And TikTok, but I'm barely popular there. 50 followers, but you know. Today's subject: Preacher. It's really easy for me to rag on The Boys by Garth Ennis, and forget that Garth Ennis is also one of my favorite writers. Preacher, that rocked my world. Didn't really get into the show, especially the first season. I'm told it gets better, but you know, season 1 was just very unimpressive. It was basically like a 6-episode story told in 10 episodes. Prestige format television, what can I tell you? See, the thing with The Boys and Preacher, both have just as much violence. Both have just as much grossness. But what makes Preacher better than The Boys is that The Preacher has a lot of stuff Garth loves in it. It's movie soup, as he calls it. It's like all sorts of crazy action stuff, hero archetypes, stories about good and evil, and what it means to be a good person. The Boys, there's not much love there. It's not very personal. It's pretty much just a mean-spirited jab at superheroes that, you know, future creatives decided to turn into a very clever metaphor for the celebrity culture. But once again, I bring up Preacher, one of the greatest graphic novel epics of all time. Highly recommended. Read it 15 times, or probably just once. I don't know your life. What do you got the time for? It really bugged me in the show that they made, like, you know, Jesse Custer and Tulip like childhood friends. Utterly unnecessary. That and how they made, like, Tulip's, like, home life extremely similar to Jesse's. I don't know. I thought it was pretty interesting how in the comics, Tulip basically, like, made her, like, dad become a feminist just by raising her, you know? Yeah. It was interesting. It was very nice. And then he died, but she still had a normal college life. The dichotomy between Tulip and Jesse is that Jesse, you know, he had a horrible home life, became a crazy antihero. Tulip, though, had a wonderful home life, but still became an antihero. Like, the way we are raised, the circumstances we find ourselves in, they don't necessarily map out our future. Sometimes people who are raised right have great home lives, end up in a life of crime. Sometimes people who are raised in the most insane way, evil way possible. But Jesse's grandmother, Jesse's parents were awesome. End up where you expect them to. That was what made it interesting. But they found each other and ended up stabilizing themselves. In the show, though, childhood friends who, you know, grew up in the same shitty town and then went on to a life of crime, and then Tulip had a miscarriage. Kind of an odd choice. Yeah. I might do a full review of Preacher one day, but that involves me watching Preacher, so especially that awful first season, and I don't know. But hey, here's to possible futures, my people. Like, comment, subscribe, and if you're feeling nice, donate to my Cash App or Ko-fi, whatever. Have a pleasant time. Rock the vote, people. Rock the vote.